I started speaking out at the start of the pandemic because I knew it wasn't going to be 2 weeks. I knew that they were trying to do the control grid that we see them doing now with the World Economic Forum, a deep state agenda, with the digital identity, the digital currency, the carbon allowances, the 15-minute cities, and all the rest of it. So right at the start, I guess the Lord always puts you in the right place. In February 2020, I landed in Venice the day that they declared it the epicenter of the pandemic. So right off the bat, I could tell that the TV was talking smack and giving everybody a whole propaganda of fear because everyone on the ground in Venice, everything seemed fine. I ended up leaving Venice right before it got completely locked down, spent a couple more days in Italy before Italy got locked down. And then I went from Netherlands to France before I came back to Canada March 2nd. Immediately started warning everybody that the lockdown was coming to Canada. Nobody really wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to hear it. Nobody wanted to believe it. Went to my first protest. I've never been to a protest in my life. I'm not politically active in any way because I don't trust either side. They're always voting for the lesser of two evils. So why would I
Right.
want to support towards evil?
Yep.
And I went to the first protest and I could see that nobody was organized. Nobody knew what was going on. And the mainstream media showed up because it was such a pathetic protest that they could make it look exactly how it was. They wouldn't even have to lie. They could just film everybody and say, look at these losers. And I got upset about that because I knew they were trying to mischaracterize us and make us look like we were crazy. So I ended up grabbing one of the cameras, putting it on me, and just giving him a piece of my mind. And from that moment on, everybody said, wow, this guy's got a real good way of words. He knows how to speak. And I started speaking. And that led me to speak all around the world in over 11 countries live. I've led the largest protests in the world in London, England, Ireland, Mexico, Canada, United States. I've done hundreds of live events all over the world, hundreds of live shows like this. I wrote a book. It's the first book in the history of the world, banned by Amazon. You can't buy it anywhere. I got even kicked off of PayPal for life for trying to sell my book online. I've been arrested 27 times in the last 4 years. I've beaten over 80 charges so far with zero convictions. So obviously they don't like me. Obviously I'm being targeted. I created two nonprofits at the beginning of the pandemic. One for small businesses called Back to Work, and I physically help businesses stay in business and how to get around the guidelines. And another one called Mothers Against Distancing, where I taught mothers what was really going on and helped them get their children mask free at the schools. Because I thought that was one of the worst things that was going on with the traumatization of the children and the normalization of traumatization of the children. And that led me to, I'm in Turkey right now, and I'm going to be here for the next couple of months. I'm supposed to be on a vacation. It's supposed to be more of a call it a rebirth, mentally, physically, spiritually, etc. And that's when I started getting attacked here. And I'm not one that's ever seen a manifestation or ever felt anything other than feeling weird presences and other than getting sleep paralysis, if anyone knows what that is, maybe once or twice a year since I was a child. And then the very first night I came to this Airbnb, I felt a weird presence as soon as I got into the room, and it was a dark presence. It felt like somebody had been killed there, and the hair on the back of my neck was standing up, and I just felt really, really, really weird anytime I went into the bedroom. So I was like, okay, I just tried to put it aside and thought nothing of it. Had the whole day there. When it was nighttime, I was watching a movie. The movie ended right at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is supposedly the hour when the veil between
Yep.
the earth and the other dimension are at its thinnest. And I just went to bed. And as soon as I got into bed, I was still awake. I was still aware. I know I wasn't sleeping yet. And I felt like a tickle on my throat. And I was like, what the hell is that? And I noticed that the blanket was on my neck. So I'm like, okay, maybe it was just a blanket. So I pulled the blanket down to my chest and I tried to close my eyes and go back to sleep. And right away, I got the sleep paralysis. And before I could even think about what was going on, I immediately felt hands around my neck starting to choke me. I literally was getting choked. I couldn't breathe, and I could feel hands that felt like women's hands. I've been choked a lot because I've trained people in self-defense. So I've had to get choked and be choked by men and women of all shapes and sizes. So I could tell the difference between male hands and female hands. And these were no doubt female hands around my neck choking me. And it took me about 20, 30 seconds to try to sit up in the bed, and something pushed me back down. And then I just got up and I was freaked out. So I called you because I know you know about this stuff. And you tried to put me in contact with the bishop, who I ended up getting in contact with the next couple of days later. So the very second night, I just slept on the couch and I didn't really sleep at all. So nothing really happened to me. And then the third night, after I had talked to the bishop and he told me what to do, I was sleeping on the couch in a dead sleep. I was so tired because I hadn't slept the night before. And sure enough, boom, the paralysis kicked in again. And as soon as the paralysis kicked in, it woke me up. And when I woke up, right beside me on the floor was the first manifestation I've ever seen in my life. And it looked like a four-legged creature, like a dog, except that it had a head that looked like a serpent. And as it saw me laying still and unable to move, even my head to look at it, as soon as it thought that I couldn't move, the head started getting closer to me. I was playing possum at that point. I could move. I had my ability to move, but I wanted to see if, well, if just like the bishop punched a demon, I wanted to see if I could do the same thing. So I let the head slither closer, and I reached out and tried to grab it like you would grab the head of a snake. And as soon as I tried, it just disappeared. And that's when I was like, okay, we did some prayers, we did some other things. And the very next night, I actually left the Airbnb because I had scheduled to go to Agri, Turkey, which is the site of Noah's Ark. And a lot of people had told me I needed to go there before all this happened. And then when this happened, you told me to go there, and somebody else on top of that told me to go
I
there. So
told
I
you
had
when
like
you go
five
there,
different people.
enjoy what you're going to receive. Yep, there's
Exactly.
prophecy placed on you.
So I went to Agri, checked into the hotel, and I had the best energy I've ever felt. It was like a divine circle of protection in that whole place. I never
Yep.
felt so safe in my entire life. And I went to bed that night and had the deepest, most wonderful sleep. And you remember because throughout the night I was messaging you. I was astrally projecting. And I know people that do that regularly, and it's tried salvia one time as a teenager, astral projection. So I started getting nervous and negative experience. But in this case, I had complete control, and I was coming and going from my body as I pleased. And every time I came back, I messaged you just to make sure I knew exactly what was going on. Weird. So I did it 3 or 4 times throughout the night. The next day, I went to the site of Noah's Ark, which everybody knows is a military guarded site. So I have to go through a couple of checkpoints with a
Yeah.
couple of guides. It's guarded by the Turkish and away from the place, and I'm looking over it on a peak. And they go, "We can't get any closer than this. This is where everyone's only allowed to go." I said, "Well, that's not going to do." I'm like, "Brad told me I got to go right there." I'm like, "Everyone told me I got to go right there. I want to go right there." And they're like, "Well, you can't. There's like the army's watching it. Nobody's allowed to go there." Well, there was army right there with my tour guides. So I said, "How about I just pay you guys some money and you let me go over there and pretend like you didn't see anything?" They're like, "Fine, we don't care. You're not going to do anything wrong." So I paid off a couple of guys with guns. My guide said, "We're not coming with you." And I took a video of me running down a very steep cliff, almost falling 100 times, and getting to the site. The site is separated by cliffs and water. So I wanted to get to the inside of the site. So I got off the camera momentarily and I tried to cross the river. I got across the river at a point and I actually fell into a thorny bush that cut my hand open, and I actually bled on the site of Noah's Ark. While I was there, I did what you recommended. I did some meditations, tried to get the divine download that I knew was waiting for me there, tried to get a spiritual upgrade, spiritual protection, and just become more one with the universe. I spent about an hour and a half there, and I got lost. And I ended up having to hike all the way back to where my guides were because they couldn't come pick me up because the army wanted them to get paid more because I had been there for so long. They wanted more money. So even though I sent them my WhatsApp location, they're like, "No, you got to walk back." So it took me about an hour and a half to get back. I got back there and I made it back. I made it back from Agri, and I went straight to the airport and got back to my condo where we are now. And that night I had another sleep paralysis moment. Only I was now that I was kind of prepared for it. It only lasted about 10 seconds. I didn't see anything. I didn't hear anything. I called the bishop, and the bishop and me did a special prayer. He did a special protection ritual for me around the place. And since that day, I've been here every day. The presence is no longer with me anywhere. If I go in the room at any time of day, even 3 in the morning, the hairs on the neck of my neck don't stand up. So I thought I was safe. And I went to bed and I realized that even though I'm protected in this realm, they can still come at me in the spiritual realm. And during my dream, I was just having a normal dream where I knew I was dreaming. I was at my family's house, all my family was there, and I went to the bathroom in my dream. And when I was washing my hands and looked in the mirror, the face looking back at me was me, but not me. And it did a different type of smile, like a creepy smile on its face. And as soon as that happened, something hit me, like physically throughout my whole body. And I woke up and felt like I had just got knocked the hell out. You know how your whole body feels electric when you get knocked out and like you get a reset? And I was sick for the entire day. I was down. I didn't know what was wrong. I knew it was because of that, but I realized that they are still powerful and they can still attack you. And the same day that the bishop was attacked by a direct energy weapon, I had people that follow me all the way from Vancouver, Canada, sending me a desperate email saying that they were being attacked by directed energy weapons and how to protect themselves. So there's no coincidences here. Everything is tied together. These things truly do exist in our reality and realities that we cannot see or perceive. And they do not like the name of Jesus. They do not like prayer. And that is the best way that you can protect and defend yourself. And that's about all I can say.
Amazing. Amazing. And you got a big tattoo on your chest. Before we turn over to the bishop, tell everybody what that ink is about.
Well, this is Archangel Michael right here on my neck. I put it on my throat. So every time I speak, it's like I'm speaking the truth, and he's there watching me, watching my back, looking out for me in general. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I've never been convicted of a crime, even though they've charged me with over 80. And one of the reasons why I'm actually being targeted by these manifestations, because they don't come after you unless they can feel your energy, unless you have a purpose in life, basically.
Yeah. 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 You're an anti-masker, anti-vaxxer. We can't have that. Even for
I'm a conspiracy theorist, guys, because you know the vaccine was safe and effective, masks worked, and climate change is real, and we should all give up every dollar we have, get a personal carbon allowance, stay in a 15-minute city, give up our cars, start paying rent on a 350 square foot condo for the rest of our lives, and let the state make every decision for us, or else we're horrible people.
Yeah. Amen. Jim.
Oh, that's an amazing testimony, Chris.